You're running out of time. Every day you waste, someone else is getting stronger, richer, better. The question is, will you wake up before it's too late? I used to believe I had all the time in the world. I told myself that success would come when the so-called right time arrived. I imagined there would be some perfect convergence of events, a whisper from the universe giving me the green light. But here's the hard truth. Life doesn't wait for anyone, and it certainly doesn't wait for me or you. Life is brutal, relentless, and it punishes those who stand still. The moment that reality smacked me in the face came when I found myself staring into the abyss of a colossal failure. For years, I'd coasted on dreams and half-hearted efforts, telling myself I needed just a bit more knowledge, or a little more money, or a better situation. But each day I spent procrastinating, the world kept turning, and opportunities slipped through my fingers like sand. I can still recall how suffocating it felt. I'd see people I knew, people who had once been on the same level as me, rising to new heights. While I delayed, they hustled. While I hesitated, they acted. While I kept finding excuses, they found ways around their own obstacles. Each success story I witnessed was like a shard of glass embedded in my pride. Eventually, I hit rock bottom. I was broke, disappointed in myself, and uncertain if I had what it took to climb out of that pit of despair. Yet strangely enough, that pit revealed the cruel but liberating fact. No one is coming to save you. If I wanted a different outcome, I had to take different actions, starting right then. The biggest lie I told myself, and the lie countless others tell themselves every day, is that there's a right time to begin. The truth is, waiting for the perfect moment is like waiting to catch a cloud with your bare hands. It's elusive. It's a myth. I remember sitting alone in my cramped, stuffy apartment, the only light coming from my phone screen as I scrolled through social media. My feed was filled with people who seemed to have it all figured out. They were building businesses, living their passions, traveling the world. Some were younger than me. Some started with even less than I had. Yet there they were, achieving milestones I hadn't even dared to dream. At first, I felt resentment. Why them? Why not me? But eventually, my anger gave way to a stark, gut-wrenching revelation. They're working harder. While I was waiting for the stars to align, they were out there creating their own constellations. I realized I had two paths ahead: surrender to the downward spiral, or harness that bitter emotion into fuel for change. Of course, the path I chose wasn't smooth. The moment I decided to act and transform my life, adversity turned up the heat. Every step forward felt like it was met with 2 steps back. I'd push myself and fail. I'd push harder and fail again. Each failure whispered insidiously that I'd never be good enough. The night that stands out above all others was a scene ripped straight from a tragic movie. I was sitting in my car under a flickering streetlight after yet another crushing rejection. I'd poured my soul into an opportunity I was convinced would be the one, the big break I'd fantasized about. I had practiced daily affirmations, visualized success, and given it every ounce of my determination. Then came the email that would shatter my hopes. We appreciate your effort, but we have decided to go with someone else. My heart sank. It felt personal, even though I knew intellectually that it wasn't. I replayed every decision and every moment I'd spent preparing, wondering what I could have done differently. Was I just not talented enough? Was I stupid for thinking I could ever compete with people more experienced, more connected, more everything? I stared at the dashboard, the silence in the car weighing on me like a lead blanket. My breath came in ragged bursts as I fought the urge to cry. Was this the end of the line for me? But then, from somewhere deep within, I heard a roar, a desperate, angry voice. No, not like this. It was raw, primal, a jolt of lightning through my soul. I'd reached my breaking point, and there were only two ways to go: break entirely or break through. I chose to break through. As I picked up the pieces of my shattered plan, I was met by resistance at every turn. My bank account was nearly empty, my confidence even lower. I questioned every move, every choice, every small decision. Friends and family, though well-meaning, began to gently suggest that maybe I should aim lower or try something safer. Some of them stopped believing in me altogether. One of the worst weeks of my life began when my laptop, my single most essential tool, suddenly died. With it went weeks of unsaved work that I foolishly believed wouldn't vanish. The cost of fixing it was more than I had in my account. I felt like the universe was sending me a message: just quit. But that internal voice, newly awakened, wouldn't let me. Instead, it kept telling me to improvise, to adapt, to find a way. And so I did, scrapping together old electronics to keep working, hitting the local library computers when I had to. My pride took a beating. I had to swallow it whole and ask for help, something I'd long avoided out of stubbornness and shame. The demands on my mind and body were relentless. I functioned on minimal sleep, juggling multiple side gigs just to stay afloat. Exhaustion settled into my bones, making my every step feel like trudging through wet cement. Yet oddly enough, every time I considered giving up, that same primal voice roared, "One more day. Give it one more day." Eventually, tiny glimmers of hope started to appear. My unrelenting practice honed my skills, and my network slowly expanded. The small improvements were easy to miss if I wasn't looking, but they were there. My words came more confidently. My work had a sharper edge. My presentations felt more polished. I realized that waiting for motivation was a trap. Motivation is fickle. It comes and goes. Discipline, however, stays. Discipline is what gets you out of bed in the morning when every muscle in your body begs for 5 more minutes of sleep. Discipline is what pulls you back to the task after you've faced your 10th rejection in a row. Rather than aiming for giant leaps, I set a simple target: get 1% better every day. That small, consistent improvement compounds over time, and before you realize it, you've made a staggering leap. This shift in perspective turned what felt impossible into something tangible, something achievable. Months blurred together as I clawed for every inch of progress. Then, without fanfare, the momentum shifted. It wasn't a fireworks moment. It was subtle, a trickle before a flood. I started to get called back for second interviews. I landed small projects that allowed me to showcase my abilities. I received messages from people who appreciated what I was doing. And then, finally, it happened. The opportunity. The chance to work on a bigger stage with bigger names. The very thing I'd been dreaming of landed in my inbox late one Friday afternoon. My hands shook as I read the message requesting a meeting. I felt like I was on the brink of everything I had ever wanted. The day of the meeting was a blur of nerves, excitement, and a deep-seated fear that I'd botch it all. But I didn't. This time, the years of resilience, of pushing through, of refining my craft, all came together in one perfect storm of confidence and competence. When I walked out, I knew that this was the breakthrough I'd been chasing. Days later, I signed on the dotted line, and with that signature, I validated every sleepless night, every tear, every sacrifice. I proved that perseverance, genuine hustle, and unwavering faith in one's own potential could eventually outlast adversity. Here's the lesson my journey pounded into my skull. Waiting is lethal. Every moment you hesitate is a moment someone else seizes. So if you've been telling yourself you'll do it tomorrow, do it today instead. The reality is simple, yet harsh. There is no perfect time. There is only right now. You can't freeze the clock while you gather courage or resources. That's not how life works. 5 years from now, 2 versions of you will exist. The version who stayed stuck, letting fear and uncertainty rule, who remained haunted by what-ifs and missed chances, or the version who decided, against all odds, to fight for the life they wanted, refusing to let setbacks define them. Don't wait for another failure or for another piece of bad luck to force you into action. If you need a sign, this is it. This is your last warning. The time to change is now. Seize it or watch it slip away forever.